popping a little, you know what, and rubbing up on everybody, basically doing doggone strip dances on the table. And this is how Ray J got with her. And then she
Chili
ended
was
up getting
hard
up
with
with
the
Usher.
group.
That's how Ray J ended up popping
Oh man, stay away from Ray J.
her. Yeah, so Ray J was young. Ray J was a kid and was busting down Chili. So when he was busting down Chili at the time,
Salute the Ray J.
yeah,
Now Ray J, she's tasty, man.
yeah.
He
So
like
Ray J
he
ended up
is
busting her
nice.
down, and after
A
that,
lot of people over here chilling. You don't see that nice Indian hair she got? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but that's what she did. She wanted to get into business. Like they didn't know Chili. Chili got put in the group because the girl that was supposed to be there, she just wasn't working out, and they was like, "Look, she
Oh
she
yeah.
she's screwing
Oh
up."
John. So
So
with
Pebbles put
Usher
her in the
kid.
group.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
So she was there to get an independent deal on her own, Chili, and they put her in the group. They was, she was there, and they was like, "Look, we got a girl that we think will work well. We just put her with y'all," and that was Chili. And they was like, she could dance, she could do all this. So Chili was basically, she's not a vocalist, she can't sing. They basically got her there because she could move and dance and everything else. And the name, that's why the name TLC was already made, because it was basically after the names of the people in the group. The girl name started with a C, and they was like, so that messes up the group. They was like, no, we just
you
give
talking
y'all
about
all
Crystal?
nicknames.
You
He's
talking
like,
about Crystal
what?
Jones?
Right. He's like, yeah, you gon' that's how they came up with the name Left Eye, and her name became Chili, so they can keep TLC. That's why Tiana named T-Boz, and they just came up with a nickname so they can come up with nicknames for people. But it was Tiana, Lisa, and the other girl name started with a C, and that's how they was
Crystal.
TLC. So when
Crystal.
if she didn't work out, they had to put the other girl in there, Rosalind, whatever her name is, so it messed up the rhyme scheme. So TLC, so they said, no, we're gonna still keep it TLC. Y'all nicknames now. You Left Eye, you T-Boz, and you're Chili.
Did she get punched by Bobby Brown dancing? They say Left Eye got punched by one of her dance. They dance with Bobby Brown dancing.
I don't know. That one I don't know about.
Who got punched by Bobby Brown's dancing? Left Eye.
I don't know.
Oh,
Left Eye fought a lot of
Left Eye
people.
been through a lot.
Left Eye fought a
Hey,
lot of people,
it's
but she was creative. That's one thing about her, and that's why Suge signed her, because he knew, like, man, this girl,
he could work with that.
yeah,
what
yeah.
you
So when
could
she
do
came over there
for
and he was
Crib on
finna,
Fire?
right, he was
I
restarting
was
Death
like, yo,
Row.
this shit don't change.
He wanted to work with her because she had vision. Master P and all that, he didn't know what he was doing with Chili. I mean, with Left Eye. Like that Supernova album she made, it came out in like Europe somewhere.
Hey, she got some hits on that though. I heard the whole album. She got some hits.
That's what I'm saying. You couldn't even get. She was so mad it never came out, and that's because the record company was blocking it. They weren't gonna let the album come out. They was like, it can come
Cause
out in Europe. We ain't gonna let no
cause she,
independent. They want to keep them as TLC. They don't want Left Out leaving the group.
yeah, cause she had exposed them on that song "I Believe in Me." Like she exposed T-Boz and shit. I said, "Ooh, shit, she going off."
See,
Like
the
she was
thing
getting
about
that
T
cash.
Boz and Chili is they're a company. And the thing is about them is Chili was always company. So she was they're not the group. Left Eye is the group. So when she left, the group was done. And I'm like, you can't get
Yeah,
nobody to take her place because she is the group.
yeah.
Without Left Eye, there is no TLC.
TLC.
She was the charismatic one. She was the charisma. She was everything. So they know she gone. That's it. It's basically done. They try to make an album without her and honor her, and I'm like, yeah, it's just
It,
not gonna work.
it
y'all
didn't
ain't
work right. Yeah, it didn't
y'all
work.
can't do what she do. It's that energy is missing. And you can't just have. They try to have an audition to find who gonna be the next member. It's just like it ain't gonna work. I'm like
Exactly.
T-Boz, like great as you were, you was basically the face of it. But she was when they saw Left Eye and saw her charisma, the way she dressed, had the condom on the eye. I'm like, man, they like, who is she?
Her grandfather was like a jazz player. Her grandfather back in the day.
Yeah. Then she just been surrounded by death. Her father died, and Pac died, and everybody
They were
around
very
her was dying, and she was. She was just in a different funk, man. She was the Rising situation. You know, it was just bad.
They were very similar. Tupac and her, they were very similar.
Yeah,
I
you
remember
know,
that.
they have a similar energy. They both Geminis. They both they both have the same type of, going to war with each other, and they both argue hard at each other and then make up. It was just
Do you
real
think
could. But I
you
remember
think
one time
Tupac would have
though,
been caught up in a love triangle?
I remember one time her and Jada Pickett almost got into it. That was funny.
For real?
Yeah. Her and Jada and Pac was laughing so hard.
I think I remember hearing about that.
Yeah. They got into a little argument, and Jada was like, excuse me? And she was like, uh-oh, calm down.
You
Because
think
Jada was wild
Tupac
too.
would have been caught up in a love triangle between them two?
No. It wasn't like that. She was just saying something smart to Jada. And this was all during the poetic justice thing. This was all around the same time. The thing was, poetic justice was supposed to be uh, Jada Pickett and Tupac.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
So that's what that was supposed to be. They did the
But they got
audition.
Janet, because I think
Jada
I
won
forgot.
the audition,
Yeah.
but once they had Janet, they was like, Janet is interested in doing the script. So they was holding out for Janet. If Janet Jackson do it, that's Janet Jackson.
Right.
So that's how we ended up getting the poetic justice situation that you got when I put the video out and did with Jason's lyric, because Jason's lyric was based off the same thing, and that's when
Yeah,
they
that
was
was the video. I didn't know that.
yeah, it's the same story, lyric. She's the poet and all this stuff. So they basically they took the sex scene that they cut out. Tupac was supposed to sleep with Janet Jackson. So
Yeah.
yeah,
said
that
that
was
in the
supposed to
interview.
be that was in
I
the
ain't seen
script.
no age sense.
They were supposed. That's why it didn't make
If I really
sense,
get to see
right? It's
Will,
like how she's
I'll take full.
right. They go on a bus ride on the doggone poster truck, and then they kiss on the cheek after arguing on the whole trip. Then he kiss on the cheek, and then she falls madly in love with him. I'm like, what? That's just dumb. This is
Right.
the dumbest part ever. I'm like, it was a weak kiss. It didn't mean nothing. Like all the controversy around it is what made that what it was.
Is
All
Jada
the
Pinkett that same girl from Rose Trip? Is that really her? That's how she really is?
who?
Jada Pinkett. Is she really that same character from Road Trip? Girls Trip? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's
Yeah.
Jada all the
We see
way.
that.
She just played
Oh, that's her?
herself, right? You see her jumping after the young boy and all that stuff. That was Alice. I
I
mean,
remember how she used
obvious.
to act. Like in the 2000s, 90s era. I remember how she used to act. And then she kind of like mellowed out. Like,
Yeah, nah, she had to. That's why she had to suppress herself to be with Will, cause Will she snapped out, and Will wasn't having it, and Will took her to the back room and basically cussed her out.
Baltimore was coming out.
Yeah, he told her like, look, there's gonna be no arguing, none of that in our household. So if this gonna work, we're gonna end this right here. And she didn't want to end it with Will because she was in a bad place, before she met Will. She was just in a bad spot. Like she couldn't get no work. People said she had an attitude problem. She got into it with because that's how Tupac got with Jasmine Guy. It's through Jada Pickett.
Jada Pinkett.
Yeah, when he got on A Different World, and then he thought Whitley was somebody else. Like he thought Jasmine Guy was, like the character Whitley. And then once he found out like she was about as hood as Jada, if not worse. So Jada and Jasmine, they all hung out. They were all good, and then it just they separated. Didn't go they separate. When the show ended, they really didn't get no work. Jada was getting calls, but Jasmine Guy wasn't. So Jada basically wasn't around too much around Pac no more at the time. But she got him on the show, and that's how Jasmine Guy and Pac got close and stuff. So when he was in New York, he's like, look, I'm gonna hit you up when I'm in New York. And that's how I did. But she ain't worked for like a year because of that. She ain't worked.
Did he go to her house?
Yeah, because once she got shot, like she was basically waiting on Pac by hand and foot. They had brought guns and all kind of stuff in the house after he got shot.
Yeah, Napoleon
Yeah,
talked
he got
about it.
all these big brothers coming in there with doggone weapons.
She had one side, Tupac had another side.
Man, it was crazy. And she was like, "Yeah, you could, use the house and all this stuff, but yeah, her and Pac
Yeah,
was, yeah, they were more than just,
she was down.
friends."
Oh yeah,
But
like I
Frank
said,
Pac
the
had
rapper
about
number
three
one.
locations. He had three spots in New York. He had a spot in Harlem. He was in Harlem at the girl he ended up
And he
marrying,
was
Keisha's
married.
house. He was
Yeah,
at Keisha's
Keisha,
house for a little bit, and he had some weapons over there.
the Desiree girl too,
Yeah, he was
the
with
light skin
her.
joint.
He was at like three, four chicks' house. Pac had people. You know what I'm saying? He just was. He couldn't trust the people he
Jimi
used to
Hendrix.
be with, the
I
people
mean,
he was around there with.
Haitian
So
Jack.
that's, and he got to heal. He can't really protect himself. So that's something was new for him.
And he
So
went to a mental hospital too to hide up.
yeah, that was different. That's when he came back later. He was better then.
Oh,
Yeah, that's when he ran into prize and all that. That was different. That's when he came back
gosh.
for like the MTV. He had to do. I mean, Saturday Night Live around that time.
If Tim Dog didn't
Oh,
pass
for
away,
real?
you think Pac and him and Biggie would have squashed their beef?
Yeah,
If he would have got away from Puffy.
Tupac and Big, they really didn't at the time. Pac was basically through dissing Big. He was done. He wasn't
Yeah,
dissing
he was
Biggie no
done.
more. His whole thing now it was like, okay, I'm done with that. Everybody wants me to diss Biggie, and I'm just like, I've done that. He don't want to do it. He don't want it. Like he don't want to battle, so it's done. I did what I need to do. Everybody now,
He,
I done messed the whole thing up, and that's what I wanted to do. They messed up their whole money. They can't get no money out here. They ain't doing no shows in LA. Like I done messed all that up. Now they
also,
can't go nowhere. So he
and
wanted
then
to.
when you do a diss song, that mess your money up.
So he wanted to mess up Bad Boy and Puff them money.
He wanted to destroy Bad Boy.
Yeah, that's what he wanted. The thing is only because they were affiliated with them,
With
with
Jimmy
Jack
Henchman,
now,
right?
and yeah, Andre Harrell and Jack and all them, and
Yeah.
he had.
But did Pac know them too? Pac knew them too, right?
No, Pac
If you
only
stop
Pac
Big,
only knew them because he met them and hung out with them. But it's not like Big introduced him. He got
oh, okay.
introduced to them by his own crew that he hung with from New York. Pac had guys in New
Yep.
York. When he hung
He
out with
was using
Stretch and all
Reggie
them,
from New York.
Stretch is the one that introduced him to Jack and all them. They ran with them.
Okay.
Is Pac
So
originally from New York? Not
right, all the Haitian dudes, Jimmy
So he's from New
Henchman,
York.
uh,
no,
Herbie the
no.
Love Bug, they knew
Baltimore.
all
Wasn't
these
it
dudes,
Baltimore?
man.
Then he moved to New York. Then he moved to or was it?
Nah, he's born in New York.
Pac
Born
hung
in
out with mostly New York
Harlem.
cats the whole time. Like all the dudes, like I told you, all his like real dudes that was getting them mostly New Yorks, mostly New York
Yeah.
dudes that
He
had
has
it down.
deep roots in New York.
Right. I mean, he had Jersey on lock. Like basically
Yeah,
everybody
he
over there.
definitely has roots
Fatal,
in New York.
Fatal was deep. His crew was deep out there, and they all knew Biggie. Biggie moved to Jersey. When he got big, he moved to Jersey. That's where his house and crib and everything was. His mom
Listen,
still
Well,
live
that's
in
all
Jersey.
pretty much like all the rappers who get money. They all move.
Yeah,
if
they
it
go out to
really was a
Jersey.
problem with Tupac, Tupac would have been got Biggie if he wanted to, but he didn't do that.
You said what?
I said if Tupac really wanted to get Biggie, he could have got Biggie anytime he wanted to, but he
No.
didn't do that.
I mean, no.
He wasn't.
Pac didn't have like look. Pac didn't have that
He
kind of
didn't
power.
have
Pac didn't have that like
exactly
go get him. Like I want him brought to me and all that. He didn't have that kind of power.
right,
Like
right.
Pac was not even that kind of dude. Pac is the type to do it himself. If he had a problem with somebody,
Right.
he'd be frontline and center, and that's what got him
Yeah, he's
in
a
a lot
soldier.
of trouble. That's what always got him in trouble. He was always frontline and center and everything, and
Right.
that brought a lot of negative attention to him. And even what caused his demise, him coming up doing what he did, that had nothing to even do with him. He jumped in the
Exactly.
middle of it.
No, but that's his normal reaction. He
Yeah.
the same
Mob
thing
James
with
was talking
Chuck
about
D.
that. Mob
Man,
James
Mom
was talking about
James
that. He
was
said,
never just like Reggie. What's his name? Reggie Wright said he was not around like that.
that's just him saying, like, listening to other people and stuff like that. He wasn't around like that. That's Tupac's normal reaction. He did the same thing with Richie Rich in Oakland with the San Francisco situation. If he's with you, he's with you. He's gonna ride with you. He's gonna be loyal to you. And if
Right,
you
and that's
say you
why
got problems,
he didn't. You know, he had it out with Snoop, and it was so deep with Snoop with him.
Yes, he didn't like Snoop when they first came to the when
Snoop
he came to the
Dogg,
label, but Snoop
man,
was stealing. Snoop was
Snoop
stealing
Dogg,
the whole
man,
time.
Snoop and
he don't
Suge had
know.
an issue, but Pac had
Yeah,
an issue with Snoop because of like
He's
him
playing.
trying
Snoop
to
was
keep
stealing.
up
He's
with
playing both sides.
So like,
No, it wasn't that. It was Snoop stole his lyrics and shit.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I know what you talking
Oh yeah,
about
yeah.
when he took from the "Are You Still Down" album when he was stealing stuff
Yeah,
off that when they was
he
listening
was
to it,
stealing.
and Pac didn't even like the fact they was listening to it. But even
Yeah,
before that, Snoop did want Pac there. Like, okay, cool, let's bring Pac over. But he
mm-hmm.
became jealous of the friendship and closeness Suge and Pac was. Suge and Pac was closer than him and Suge could ever be. Even though Suge, was mad, gave Snoop everything. Pac was always like riding with Suge. It was like, man, this the guy I always wanted to roll with. I love him. Suge loved that hood craziness and all that wild, and he loved that. He loved that attachment. So him and Pac's energy, they rode everywhere together. Suge was the money, Pac was the mouth.
And to,
And they just rolled around,
yep.
drop tops,
And
and now he
Tupac
the
loved.
boss. I'm the capo, and this the Don, and the next thing you know, he the Don. I'm the Don capo. We
Yep.
the mob. He was loving that MOB. He started, but that's now you affiliating yourself with the Bloods, and you start screaming MOB and
And
MOB.
that's where he messed up at.
Yeah, in
Yeah, he was
LA,
messing up with
that's
that.
a very bad situation you create.
speaking of that, did you see that goofiness with Drake in that Tupac chain with the blood chain and the Crip chain with Pac and all that like last week?
No, I'm
That's
glad I didn't
that's
see
true.
something like that. That's
Oh, you
dumb.
didn't see that?
Never
Yeah,
seen a
he
Tupac
got a
man.
Jesus
It's like a
curse.
double.
Yeah,
It's like a double Tupac chain. One with him with a blue bandana and one with him with a red bandana.
Yep. It's
I'm
a
like,
I
Jesus
was like,
piece.
Drake, what is this
man,
nonsense?
Drake just doing too much, man. He don't know
I
what to
say
do no more. It's like when you've been on top for as long as Drake. Like nobody's really been on top that long in the game. Like never, it's
Jewish.
never been nobody in the game that's been on the top as long as Drake. Drake has been on
That's
top and still being looked at as one of the top artists in the game every time he dropped. And that's been happening for over 10 years straight. That don't
yep.
happen. Not in hip hop. Normally you
I
got
was
like
listening
Ice
to
Cube was
Drake
talking
back in
about
the
that
day.
3 years. Drake said, I'm on 3 sets of 3 years. Letting Ice Cube know you
Mm.
got that wrong.
I didn't like Drake when he first came out, but it was more than it was just more than just Drake. It was just the people that was like coming along in the hip hop world that I didn't like that he was bringing along with him. Like
Well, it
these
was
fake ass white people
I never was a Drake fan at
that
all.
ain't know a
I don't
damn
listen to
thing
Drake.
about hip hop. Like now y'all over here making y'all know every goddamn thing.
I like Drake like as an artist, like
I like
like
the old
like his
Drake.
mixtape stuff. Like he was like really bringing it.
Yeah,
So I was
that's
like,
that's what I said. I
whoa,
like the
like
old Drake.
yeah, the old Drake. Then he hit with Best I Ever Had, and then Successful. So all of it sounded almost like emo. And I remember I played the
Right.
video from like way back in 2009. I'm still bumping Uncle Murder, and everybody bumping this Drake. I'm like, it ain't like I diss him or nothing, but it's just like it's all depressing. I wanna be a
They played that
successful.
one time in the club like that in North Carolina. I'm like, what? I almost fell asleep. They were
Like the song
doing
Big.
that.
So
Like
I'm like, dog, I
everybody
just
should
like,
be getting
man.
tired.
And my cousin put me on to him because he's a young dude listening to him in Young LA. He thought Young LA was gonna be the biggest star in the world. But I'm like,
He could
dude,
have had.
Ti,
Oh,
But T.I.
A9, the
yeah,
A9
Ti
dude.
jumped this, dropped this,
And
yeah, he the
He could
one
have. He
stole his
could have
whole
had. But T.I.
swag,
was fake
everything.
ass.
He the
yeah,
one
He
used to
could
be
have had
dyeing
that.
his
T.I.
hair.
locked him out.
He the one used
Yeah,
to
he
dye
did.
his hair and all that stuff. He was Young Thug and all them. They done all bit that dude.
Yeah.
And
But when like I am like now I'm like I'm tolerant of Drake, so it's like it just varies from song to song with me when it comes to him. Like
Drake knows how to structure songs. Yeah, he has a good camp. He has a really great camp.
It's not whatever such. Like that's how I just am with Drake now. But I just got tired. Like when Drake, Cole, Kendrick, and all them coming around, I noticed like college people just starting to aggravate me a little bit. I think it had to do a lot with the fan base. It's like how he's out now. Like you can't stand his fan base and him at the same time.
His fan base is nothing but trolls, man.
It's not even speaking of that.
Some people be saying he's the greatest of all time. I be like,
nuts with like caping for 6ix9ine when he was going at it with Adam 22 like for like the last 2 weeks. I'm like, is it that deep out here?
Man, I just did a video today really talking about that. Like this Adam 22
academic.
Right.
Adam 22 just sitting in the chair just looking mad confused like why are you having me sitting here for like 3 hours talking about absolutely nothing?
But that's what I'm saying is that they give the game to them and I'm like, how or why? Like it don't even make sense that
I still don't know where he came from.
Right, like where did this dude come from? Like people, and I'm like, why is like people going to him for interviews? You know, I'm like this whole thing with Dame Dash and him $500. I gave Dame $500. I'm like, for him saying that somebody should have punched him in the mouth.
Right.
Who are you to even be saying what you gave Dame and all this stuff? I'm like, dude, who are you? Really? And I'm like, academics, you should never be, I want to fight Meek Mill. That shouldn't even be trending.
Academics, I know where you came from, YouTube. But when it comes to Adam, it's like one day he just popped up on Charlamagne's podcast, like back in 2015, 2016. And I'm like, who in the hell is Adam 22?
Right, I don't know who.
And then he just popped off like a couple years later. Like,
right. You know, my thing is that I always respected Vlad because Vlad came up doing this back when it was nothing.
He used to run around with the camera.
Right, running around with the camera. So I always respected him. But still, it's like, dog, you don't know about the culture. And he don't really know anything about the people he even interviewing. Yeah, so it's like, dog, you don't even know nothing about, like, you don't even study or say, okay, I'm finna interview so-and-so today. Let me find out something about them, who was going on. He don't even know they got a record out. He's like, yo, my album out today. Oh, okay, you got an album out? I'm like, dog, you interviewing him. What the hell?
He sound like the feds to me. I don't want to go.
He ain't the feds. He ain't the feds, but I will say he has some feds connections. He got some connections that would make you think he feds. Because I swear, Ayanna Jackson, people were looking for real. And she was in hiding.
I seen it on the Patreon.
You saw it on the Patreon? See, yeah, you've been doing your homework since you got there. You ain't even been there that long. You been already on the Patreon getting loose.
I'm forgetting. Ayanna,
she's an informant.
I appreciate you educating me, bro. Like,
yeah, that's what I'll be doing on the Patreon, educating everybody.
Informant for who?
She was working. No, they still had her as an informant, even when Tupac. You gotta understand when the Pac was out of jail. Yes, when Pac was out of jail, she was still. When Pac was out of jail, she was still. The case was still going on. It ain't like he was out on bail. You know, they bonded him out. The case is still going on. So he was gonna get an appeal, and they still got to go to court over that. He didn't people thought he got out of jail and he had to report to a PO and all this stuff. He was out on bond.
In California.
A lot of people off with that.
So he had to get permission to be in Cali to do the stuff he was doing.
I'm happy he did it though.
And what they did that they had the judge to give him permission to travel. That's why he went overseas to Valentino's and all that. So they were, people were looking for, in other words. So people were checking for her and trying to find out. And they got connections to cops and everything. And nobody find her. Nobody knew where she was. You know what I'm saying? So, believe me, they had access. You already know that. I ain't going to say no names, but y'all already know they had access to cops. So you
Yeah.
already know what time it is. So they couldn't find him.
Crazy, right?
But all of a sudden, Vlad, I mean, everybody been trying to find and interview this girl for 20 plus years. Pac been gone for over 20 some years, and the only person to ever
Almost
interview her,
25 years.
25
96 is
years, and only person to
yeah,
ever interview
96
this
is
woman
25 years
is
next year.
DJ Vlad. Let that sink in. The only person that ever interviewed this lady is
That's DJ
DJ
Vlad.
Vlad. The only person to ever find somebody that nobody on the face of the world who was looking for could find for an interview. And many people have been trying to interview her. During the 10-year anniversary that was coming up of the death, they tried to find her for an interview. They tried to find her people and work through the people and stuff, and they lost contract of most of them. They didn't know anything. She wasn't contacting them. It was all kind of crazy, but they could not. They tried to do a 10-year anniversary and go down to that route, to this route. Couldn't find her. Now, all of a sudden, the only person that could find her was Vlad.
It's crazy.
Still to this day, after the Vlad interview, other people wanted to interview with her. Have
Can't even
you
find
seen her
her no more.
anywhere? Nope.
She's a ghost.
Ghosts. Back gone. So,
So they had the
But
time.
did he pay her?
I don't know. I don't know what happened there.
Did they pay her for?
I don't know what happened there, but I'm like,
Well, I know she got paid off Tupac album "Me Against the World."
all I know is
Well,
All I
I
know
do know
is
she has an
she
Instagram.
interviewed with Vlad, and we ain't seen her interview with nobody else since. And I know for a fact that there were a lot of big people in the game that wanted to interview her.
Oh
That
yeah,
I
most
know.
definitely.
That I know for a fact. A lot of big people in the game wanted to interview her.
Do you put Adam and academics in the same space as Vlad because they've been doing like I don't academics
No,
have this
academics is different. He's a hack. He never knew anybody. He was a gamer, a video gamer who was a computer nerd who knew no rappers, no
Or
nothing.
Chirac.
No, right. The war is talking about a war in Chirac and all this stuff, just a gamer. And got
This
himself
man is like the
into a
Grim
lane where he
Reaper.
started getting some views, not on games, but talking about a war in Chirac and all this stuff, and started talking about
Talking about people
hip hop and
dying and
meet me.
stuff.
So he just came out of nowhere, left field, talking about this stuff. He never met anybody in the business. He never knew any artists, never knew anything. He just talking out the side of his mouth.
The first time I watched
Joe Budden warned him about what's that young dude that passed away?
XXX
He was
fucking on.
Yeah,
Joe
XXX.
Budden, Joe Budden got on his ass. He said, "Leave that little nigga alone. Like, look, you tripping, like."
Right, he don't.
Talk.
Academics is like really dumb, so that's why he was trying to help him. He was like, I'm gonna try to help this idiot. So, and that's why, because he's like, yeah, he really just don't know. And that's how Joe was saying, like, he really just don't.
Still don't.
He has no
The
ounce of
only
street in
time I
him.
was familiar with academics is when he specifically talked about a chick that I knew in Charlotte from the situation with 2 Chainz.
Oh, that
Is this
that
your
freaking
I knew that girl.
Oh.
I didn't get along with
the
her.
the Cabell girl, whatever her name is.
Yeah, Christina. And
Oh, okay.
is this your thought? Like that situation back in 2014, and she tried to put 2 Chainz for that or whatever. Like that's the only reason why. That's how I found out about academics because he was like, okay, and then that's how the next day we started roasting her ass when they put that video on World Star. And I haven't seen.
Russell Simmons is a wild boy. Like, man, I didn't know he get down like that. I was like,
Oh yeah, he be messing with the transvestites.
Man.
Back in the days.
That picture, man.
Gene Dale was talking about
Man.
that he was in a mansion full of transvestites and stuff like that. And it was him and Puffy. I was like, whoa,
man. So you don't talk about it on person. I can't say it on everybody.
As Vlad and Adam, same for Adam 22 because for some reason they compared themselves to Vlad. Adam and
yeah, talking about
Adam, I don't know why he compared himself to Vlad when I don't think Adam was ever around hip hop like that. I think he was around skateboarders. I'm like, dog, yeah, you just jumped on the scene. I don't even know where you came from.
Like, oh, your girl got a train ran on about she like apparently he's into all that cuck stuff. Like, so he didn't really care.
Yeah, man. I
Johnny
mean,
J really killed
I'll be
himself.
right back.
like the whole thing is like crazy. Like, yo, I'm like, what if I decide to interview? Like, you're getting mad about Selena Powell going on Adam's show talking about you when he didn't want to really talk about you, but then you want to get mad and try to bring up some alleged underage chick that Adam slept with when that wasn't even true. Like it's getting crazy. Like it's getting like
right.
out of
And I
hand.
mean, they got the wrong people in the game, and they're gonna end up messing it up for a lot of people. And
Right.
that's what I don't like about this industry. That's one of the main things I have a problem with. And the problem that I have is just that it's so much recklessness that comes along with it. Like it's a lot of stuff in the stories, as you could tell just from the Patreon, that I could have put on YouTube and didn't. And I was like, dog, I could have put this on YouTube, but I didn't because you know why. Now that people on the Patreon, they see like, oh, okay, yeah, you can't put this
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. I was like, man, I like the man. It's crazy on there. I was like, wow.
And
All
see,
I know is
these
if he talk
guys
about
here,
that,
yeah, go ahead, X.
Huh?
What you was saying?
all I know is if he talk about that $2 million house one more time, I'm like, bro, we get it, bro. Like
Dog,
a
and
lot of
that's what I'm
people
saying.
with
And
bread, that's what they do. But you're using that thinking that you're gonna get women and all that. That's why I'm looking at you complaining about women on Twitch.
dog, he
Like,
don't.
oh, why they messing around with other chicks? Why messing
Dog,
with
if
this
you
girl?
got a $2 million house, you shouldn't even
$2
brag. Academics don't have no doggone women. That's why he on these social media. He too scared and paranoid to have any girl that's on Instagram come to his house. Unless they some thoughts that he can control, that he gonna promise them that he can build them a career. That's how he did all the rest. I can make you famous. I can help your page go. That's the only thing he got as an angle because don't nobody want to deal with him because he's a clown and he's like
Messing with
nasty.
these little low tier ass stuff. I'm like, oh, like you gotta get from us. It's like some legit, like high tier, like
Right. That's why I'm like,
like
dude, this is
your
like
money do it right.
this is like the
I
B
just like,
level Craigslist. I'm like, you sure you ain't get these Craigslist chicks?
I ain't seen no. You exposed the shit out of him on that Patreon. I was like, damn.
that's
Yeah,
what me and Bill relate.
all he does is talk down on women
We
and
still
stuff like
go to
that.
the same spots and deal with the same type. Well, we don't deal with the same as that type of shit. But it's like I understand where Joe comes from because we go to Starlets. We both go to.
I know you do, man. Yeah, that's
We both go to these same spots. I
right.
just I just don't mess with the ones that I can manipulate easy. I mess with the smarter strippers. So
Right. Well, see, that's the thing he don't do.
Joe like messing with these naive chicks. Like,
Right, because that's what Joe likes control. And see, that's the thing. Joe can't deal with a woman that's opinionated and has her own mind and can think. It messes him up because he ain't in control. He don't know how to operate when he don't have control. That's why you see him on. That's why he had to leave over there in Complex, and he act like they did something wrong when he did something stupid with the whole deal of the show. He the one didn't own none of the show. They did because he didn't know how to conduct business. So he come
apparently
over
the
there.
show's not even.
Hey, Cino, you can talk about when you about to get high right from on that show, right? You
Oh
talking
yeah,
about on the
yeah, yeah,
Patreon?
yeah. It was I put all that on the Patreon, so I just left that there. They can check
Why
that out over there.
But
But yeah, that's some
why you can't say
yeah.
it on here?
Huh?
quick question.
Why you can't say it on here?
Well, I can't talk about that on here because that brings and involves a whole lot of other people and private emails. That's why.
Um,
Right, right.
It's
That's
not.
personal emails and private emails and stuff that was said. That's confidential and it's in the emails that is
yeah,
confidential.
you explain the whole
But
thing on the Patreon.
Right.
but but hey, Cino, I gotta ask you a question. Did Chili catch like some HIV or anything by from Usher or something like that?
No.
Yeah,
Was that true?
I was
The
just playing.
STD?
She didn't catch an STD. She already had an STD from what I know. But
God damn.
yeah, but I don't know. Hers could have got cleared up, but she already had an STD
Cause you
before
remember
that.
all of that stuff was coming out about Usher, right? About the
Yeah,
fat
I
woman
thought I should
and
burn her.
No,
Cause
no.
you made the song Let It Burn.
Nah. No.
They probably was burning
It
each
was,
other, but I
that
heard
was early.
she had something way back. This is back when she was with Ray J and all that. She was doing all that stuff. So she,
When people was complaining about
but
Usher
I think it
burning
was
people, I was
chlamydia.
like, yo, he did
I'm
that.
not the doctor, but
Like,
I thought it probably was chlamydia.
Do you think he burned that big girl that was on the tube like us?
no,
I
stop
don't know.
that, nigga.
I couldn't tell you that.
Stop the clout chase. So like, stop it.
I
I was
couldn't tell
like,
you that.
Usher, I know Usher ain't knocked that down.
Cut it out.
That lawyer was on a mission that year, man. She was just getting anybody.
You talking about that lawyer? What's her name?
Yeah, that Bloom. I forgot her name. Bloom something. That white girl, that white woman. She was representing for everybody that was in the Me Too movie.
Yeah, Lisa Bloom. That's her name.
Yeah, Lisa Bloom. There you go.
Oh, then on the Patreon by Mike Tyson, man.
Oh yeah, but Ayanna Jackson, she's on social media. She is a loose like you could tell something's off about her.
I haven't seen her post nothing, so I don't know. I don't know where she is on social media.
She got
She all she does is just like half naked and stuff, and she be like posing for the camera like she is. Like,
I saw her
what the
pose
hell?
next to Tupac picture. You know, I mean, she basically that's why I love that Vlad interviewed her, and everybody
Yeah, I
got
love that
mad at
Vlad
Vlad.
interview.
They got mad at Vlad and they said, "Oh, Vlad, you shouldn't have did this, and Vlad shouldn't have did that, and you why dare you interview her?" She lied. I'm like, dude, y'all ain't never seen this woman really before. So I'm like, now you get to see what she looked like. You get to hear what she say out of her mouth, and you could say, "Man, she lying." I was like, you can listen right to it. I'm like, yeah, she lying. Cause I'm like, if somebody did that to you, you ain't gonna today pose in front of their picture. And she got a picture
That's what I'm
posing in front
saying.
of
In front
Pac
of the
picture. I'm
mirror and
like,
stuff.
Tupac even said like they should have checked her private area. They was like check that, but they didn't do all
They
that.
did check it, and it was nothing. There was no forcible. And another thing, Haitian Jack, he was a foreman as well too, from what I heard. And he's the one that introduced Ayanna Jackson to Tupac.
Who was Lil Sean? Who was that?
well,
They was
I
talking
think
about
I
they
wouldn't
was
say he entered. I think she's just one of the girls in the club that just came up there. You know, it was plenty
Oh,
other girls, right? So, you know, Jack knew it.
Yo,
Jack
y'all
ran
be
that
having
club
some
basically.
wild dickeries. I'll be
Like
like,
everybody knew in there. I wasn't like it was a setup. Like they tried to make it like she was in on the setup. No, I explained what really went down with that, but just to make it clear, Jack really didn't have nothing to do with that. That really wasn't a setup from no Jack. They just naturally got into that situation with that chick. It wasn't like we out to get Pac and all that. Like get him for what? Pac was broke to them. You know, Pac. They gave Pac money. Pac was broke. I mean, he had some money
they
coming
had
in,
more
but
money
he
than
was
Pac.
broke. He was still
Yeah,
waiting
they
for
definitely
money.
have more money than Pac.
Right, he was
The
waiting on
drug
money to
dealers.
come from above the rim. He was waiting on the check there, and Suge gave him a big check. So other than that, but he really wasn't getting any money. He was
Right.
really, he was like a check to check type of dude. Pac get money and spend
Yeah,
it about as fast as it
and
comes in.
it would have to go to the lawyers and stuff like that.
Right, and his manager had to like try to budget his money for him because Pac was just spending money. He had the crib back in Atlanta, and then he ended up having to let that go, and he had let his crib go in L.A., so he was practically homeless at one point. Like he had no crib, and I was like, man, Pac was just living from people's house, like from house to house. He in a hotel chilling. He had his stuff like in storage. He was just moving. You know, that's how dudes moved back then. They just Pac would never know. You know, I'm gonna settle down. It's the crib. He tried to do that in Atlanta, and then he ended up just letting that crib go and losing that. So he really wasn't. They had all the money, and Pac was like, "These dudes got money. Like they paying me in cash."
That's why he associated with them because he
Right,
needed
because they
that
had all that
somebody
dough,
to
man.
have
They
money.
they gave him Rolexes and everything. Like, dude, you a star.
Yeah,
You rolling with us now. You rolling with stars, and Pac love that stuff, man.
But Interscope should have owed Tupac. They owe him. They should have gave him money,
But at
nah,
the
they
time,
didn't.
he had too
Tupac
much
really didn't sell that much in
against him
records.
though.
Even though when he had "I Get Around" and "Keep Your Head Up," he wasn't no mega rap artist at that time. They didn't,
Oh,
he was just gold. He was a gold
He was
artist.
mostly making money from the
He didn't
movies.
become a superstar really until like even during Me Against the World, he wasn't like a super
No, he
duper
wasn't.
like
When Dear Mama came
superstar
out,
on me. Then he became that.
like they didn't know who Tupac was till Poetic Justice. A lot of people knew. We know him from Juice and everything else. Like they were still calling him Bishop when his first
Hmm.
album was out. Bishop, Bishop, Bishop. They were still calling him that before they
That's
even.
when Brenda's Got a Baby came
Right, Brenda
out,
Had a
right?
Baby came out. They were still calling him
Yeah,
Bishop.
that
He
came
wasn't
out
even
like
being called
That's what they
1995.
Tupac.
know Tupac as, the Brenda Got a Baby rapper.
Yep. And then after that, when I Get Around came out and all that, then he started getting some popularity. Then when the third album was coming, this is the one he's gonna make the big money on. Here come all these legal problems. And then he got the two movies. He got this movie with Janet Jackson. So he was up to do Higher Learning with uh,
John
what's his name, John
Singleton.
Singleton. Because John was like, stick with
That
me.
stole some of his ideas that Tupac gave him for that movie.
Yay. And that's why he was like, don't do that movie above the rim. He didn't want him to do above the rim. He did above the rim for the money. He's like, he said, this is a dumb script. They basically got you playing Bishop, another thug,
Bishop, yeah.
and this is what he didn't want to do. He's like, I got crazy legal problems. I got to do it. So he was like, no,
And
I want you
I
to
don't even
play.
think.
He was
Okay,
gonna
my
play
bad.
Malik, and that's who was Malik. Omar Epps wasn't playing the role; it was Tupac. So Tupac he kept going to jail and getting in legal problems, and John had to fire him from. He was telling him, John, please don't fire me. He's like, dude, it's the product. You costing money. You the star of the movie, and you ain't doing your part. And it's him and Ice Cube and all them. They was getting ready to do the movie and everything, and they called Omar Epps, and they had to let him go. He's like, I gotta let you
Then he
go.
was supposed to be in Menace to Society. Then he beat up the fucking
Yeah,
producer.
he beat them up for that, and
And then
John
there was
John wasn't
another
mad at him
movie he
about that.
played.
That's why
It's
John
Bullet, right?
that made
Did he
John
really
John
play
was
in
a hater,
Bullet?
man. I mean John Singleton was a big hater. He was. He hated everybody. he was like mad at them over the Minister Society because he felt like Boys in the Hood, like they trying to copy Boys in the Hood and my Menace and Zal. He was like, you see Boys in the Hood, you see Menace.
I never understood why he felt that way because they felt like two different movies to me. And a lot of people resonated more with Menace to Society.
Right? They felt like
Over
that. What they
Boys in the Hood.
said. They said Boys in the Hood was an after school special. There's like that
It
was more
was.
like an after school special, man. He was
And then there
mad.
was this one movie. I don't think I never finished from beginning to end with Pac. I think he was like an FBI detective or something.
Oh, that was his
Oh,
last
you
movie,
talking about
gang
gang
related.
related?
Was that the name
Did
of
you
it?
see no? Did you like Bullet?
Yeah, I saw Bullet. Yeah, Bullet was on the streets as soon as Tupac died. It was on bootleg. Everybody had it. Like as soon
Was
as he
that the
died, the
name of the
week
movie
he
where he was
died.
like the detective or whatever?
No,
No, that's gang
that's
related.
gang related. And matter of
I
fact,
still
gang
never
related
seen
was on
that movie from
bootleg.
beginning to end.
Gang
Right.
related was on bootleg like right after that, too. Like right before we had we
I
had
like that
everything.
movie
We had the
too.
Machiavelli album start dropping. Soon as Pac died, it was like so we already had the original copies of songs before they start remixing them and making them sound ridiculous. We had like
Why?
Machiavelli
Why are they
one
doing that? Why are they doing that? It's like
because
I'm
they
glad they
have
did that.
to.
I was like,
I'm glad they did that because if
No.
they didn't do that, we would have got all these remixes that we got,
Oh yeah, I'm
and it
glad
would
they
have
did
messed
that.
up
Yeah,
this
with the
movie.
Machiavellis, you're right. So you get to hear
I
how
mean, they
how it's
did with
supposed to
Hell yeah,
Kanye and
sound.
you
a lot of
actually get
rappers.
to hear the songs that Tupac actually made and the actual beats, and you could actually hear the connection to the music that he actually chose.
That's how I didn't have an issue like when like what's going on now, like how you see they doing Juice World and you see how 50 Cent
Yeah.
took care of the Pop Smoke album.
Oh no,
Like I
yeah,
don't
50
have
Cent
an
did his
issue with
thing.
that.
that's
I
what
don't
he
have an
remind me of 50 Cent. Pop Smoke remind me of 50 Cent. Like I listen to him. Like,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
from
too
Baton
young
New
for
York.
me.
I was like, dude, like when Pop first came out, I was like, yo, this dude is it. He's it. This is it.
People started to sound like him. They
And I've
started
been
taking his
saying it
style.
for like the last couple of months. I'm like, y'all kill Pop, but then
Mm.
you got this rainbow head bastard running around.
Man, George Zimmerman is still alive.
That should be getting me tight every time I see
George Zimmerman is still alive.
And then he
Man,
disrespected Pop Smoke like the other day.
like I said, this
Yeah, I
game is
know.
all screwed
And
up.
Nipsey.
They got the wrong people running around here representing it. People
I'm
who know
talking
nothing
about.
about the
I want to
game, they
run
know
around
nothing about the
police and watch
history
y'all
of it,
favorite
and then
rapper
they
get
trying
their
to be the
dick
face
sucked
of the
off or
culture.
whatever. Like,
And it's not like people are hating on you. It's the fact that we're saying, dude, get better, learn something about it. And now Academics has never met a rapper in his life, or no real credible artist until he got put into the Complex chair. Complex didn't even want him. Joe said, "Hey, this is the guy." Like he's a good kid. Like bring him in
Maul
now.
told him in his face on the podcast a few weeks ago. You know this is your fault, right? But you know this is your fault, right? I think he said it
That's
like
why I
two
like Maul.
podcasts
Maul
ago.
is a hater. I like Maul. Maul's
Yeah,
a
because
straight hater.
Academics talked. He mentioned Rory and Maul in that rant with Adam. Like he mentioned though, like he was just going off. Like he mentioned Dom is live. He mentioned a couple people.
Yeah, he was mentioning a lot of people.
Then
Who?
he'll mention other people
Maul?
without saying their names. Like
Who? Maul?
no, Academics.
Oh.
When he was
Hey,
ranting, like
Cena, why you don't
when
got
he
your
was
own? Why you ain't
ranting
got
at
your own
Adam,
show?
he was mentioning other people. Like
You said why I don't have my what?
Why you don't have your own, like your own sports show?
A sports show? I don't need all that. Cause then
That
once you do all
they
that
gonna
stuff,
try to
man,
censor him. They're
right.
gonna try
Once
to
you do all
censor
that,
Cena. Cena's
you're
gonna be like
dealing with
LeBron James.
right. Once you
you
start
don't
going
want
down that
another
road,
RB to break. Like I watch RB to break through every now and then, but sometimes it's like
I was
really
gonna say
hard
you
to get
should
through.
have your own too, but they're not gonna let you speak the truth
Hard to
on
get
TV.
right. And I mean, you setting yourself up to have a boss, and then now you got to go to
Mhm.
work, and you got to be there at
Yeah.
9. You got to do. I don't want to work for nobody no more. You know what I'm saying? I'm
But see,
like, I've done that road.
I'll give you this. Like you definitely like when Reggie Wright was trying to like reach out to you. You didn't like try to accept it. You stay away. That was smart. I would definitely give you that.
Well, no,
Anybody that
I
tries
talked
to
to him
like,
in his live chat, and that was enough conversation we need to have. I mean, I never disrespected the man, and there was nothing else we needed to say to each other.
right.
I'm
But
like,
what I see what Reggie Wright trying to do, like he be controlling some of these Tupac YouTubers and stuff to like point them in the direction and stuff, so they don't have like complete control of what they doing and stuff. So that's why I'm glad you kind of like stayed away from that.
yeah, I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
whatever they doing over there, they doing. I really don't like most of these like Tupac channels and stuff they come out. I already know what it is, like what they doing it for.
They want the
So
bag. They want the money.
right. It's just a cash grab for them. So they got 85, stories on his death. I don't even like
Yeah.
to talk about Pac death. You never hear me really talking about this dude dying at all. I'm like, dawg, I'm talking. He did more alive than dead. You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Like,
yeah, he
it's more
definitely did.
stuff that was like great. That's not his legacy. Like, oh, he got shot in Vegas. I'm like, we know this. We don't need to go down that road.
Exactly. He did way
Tell us
more
some
than
of the
that.
stuff he did, with the kids and how he was taking money, how he was trying to build up like communities and saying,
Community
we gotta
centers,
right.
the football league that Snoop Dogg took and never gave Tupac the credit.
Oh yep.
Oh, you're talking about that Reggie Wright, the one that was dealing with
Yeah, Reggie Wright Jr.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Reggie
um
Wright Jr. and all that stuff. But I like his whole situation. I never brought up his trial. I never brought up nothing about him.
Yeah, that was smart to stay away from that.
what was his position? I forgot. Like what was his
He was like the head of security.
He was head of security, but he was like in charge when Suge went to jail. Reggie was in charge. He
He's the
left
head of
Reggie
the
in charge.
chief of Compton Police.
And everybody's
Oh
like, "How
yeah.
you know so much?" And you and Suge wasn't like close to, like you ain't know Suge then, and you ain't know. I'm like, I believe me, I knew enough at that time. I know a lot of people. People knew who I knew, and I'm like, my whole thing. Everybody then went through my thing with a comb. They know how I know people. They know how I got there. They know how everything. I done backtracked everything 1,000 times for people. I like it ain't rocket science, but I'm like I've already went through that road. Like I came up knowing all the people and seeing all this stuff live. So I'm like all this stuff happened around me. I knew the Nick Cannon, knew Kale, knew everybody in the music business. They came on the show on Nickelodeon. Method Man, Brian Robbins, the director. He directed all these guys. Nick got all that. He got everybody there. TLC produced that show. I was like, and everybody was in one bubble. I met everybody. Megan Good was there. Wesley, Jonathan, everybody was young. So we met everybody. Knew them all. So that's how we end up coming up. Kel lived around the corner from me, from Kenyon and Kel, rap with my cousin. They finna get signed by Buster, by Electra Records. All of this stuff happened during the 90s, coming up. Before Tupac got out, went there, Keith Murray was there, and he was on the West Coast and was talking to them, and they tried to get him to leave. Eric Sermon, and all kind of stuff was going on. So it was like all of these things was happening all around us. The whole emergence of Wu-Tang came up around the same time. So as I'm watching this grow in the 90s and everything's blowing up and we sitting here and we like, man, my cousin, I'm thinking they finna come out and blow like immediately. They get a movie deal before anybody else. And they was on Big Pun video shoot, but they started throwing up gang signs. So they cut them off the video. Cuz had to throw up the GDs, he had to throw the rakes up. So they cut him out.
I remember that.
Cut him out completely. And everybody was there. Smith and Wesson, Big Pun had everybody in that video. And they cut my cousin them out of it. But their music video is on YouTube, so you can see it. It's for the movie soundtrack, Mystery Man. Huh?
Who had the better verse on Just Blaze? Raekwon, Big Pun, Nas, or Fat Joe?
I had to go back and listen to it. I ain't heard that.
Pun did.
I said the same thing. It's been a long time.
Right, it's been a while. I had to go back and listen to that again.
Now, if you would have said Band for TV remix, I would have said Pun.
Pun, right. Band for TV is Pun. Right. Everybody know that.
He had the better verse on Just Blaze to me.
I gotta go back and listen to it. Like that's one I gotta go back and check out again.
I don't even remember how the song go. Like it's been so long. Like
I remember, I just don't remember exactly like how everybody else's verses was. So I gotta go listen to the whole song all over again.
That's how I do it. Listen to old school music. I don't listen to this new generation. I can't stand it.
I know. It's so disappointing. You're right. You're right, because now when you listen to it, it's
all the time. Like
it's all the same.
Right. Like the music used to be like they used to talk about real shit, but now these days they just come out with anything. You be like, what?
Oh no, they talk about real shit. It's just who you listening to.
Right. Not mostly artists was talking real. They was leaving message behind their song, but these artists today don't really do that no more. They just put something out, always hot. They make it. They just talk about a hot dog. It's gonna be a song. I'm like, ain't this some shit?
Yeah, that's like the dudes they put on radio. But Brooklyn drill gets busy. UK drill, like the UK drill gets busy.
That's basically gangster rap.
Yeah, basically that's what that. I'm glad that came back. But then you got some in the industry.
Drill is basically gangster.
Why is the gangster rappers coming back? I'm like, cause nobody don't want to hear none of these niggas. These bitch-ass niggas running the game. Like,
yeah. Some guy was going hard on in the chat talking about, oh, why Cino's not talking about FBG Duck? I'm like, he doesn't cover Chicago drill. Right.
I don't. I'm like, that's what I try to tell these people from the beginning. He's like, oh, you ain't doing it because you live there. I'm like, yeah, one, then two. I ain't never covered them from nobody. I don't talk about Trippy Red. I don't talk about none of these dudes.
I don't know FBG, whatever. I don't know his name.
I didn't talk about Extension. I didn't talk about Snitch 9. I'm like, dude, I don't talk about these dudes. These are not people I really deal with.
The only thing I want to deal with is 6ix9ine is his girl Jay, because I've been wanting to fuck Jay for like 4 years before 6ix9ine was even thought about.
Oh, you talking about the other baby mama?
Yeah, I know Jay. Jay used to work as stylist. She used to be a bartender until Cardi B and her people ran down on her for fucking.
Oh yeah, I remember that when they messing with. Well, that was Offset. He was messing with.
I heard about it before he even hit the media. I'm like,
this is his girlfriend now.
Yeah, Jay, the one with the big fat ass.
Yeah.
I thought her ass was fake.
Nah.
It might be. It might be some real, some fake. You never know nowadays, but still, she's got a big one. And
she a bad bitch, and her sister is too. And I've been trying to hit that since like 2015.
Yeah, yeah, man. I swear. I wonder. Now I know why Biggie's song "Nasty Boy" fit you. Biggie made that song for you.
All right, let me just go through the line what turned me into a maniac like that. It was "Nasty Boy" by Biggie, right? It
Big
was "Do
Pimpin'.
It" by LL Cool J. It was "Looking at Me" by Mace. Uh, "Feeling on Your Booty" by R. Kelly. Big
I'm
Pimpin'
killing man in quarter free.
Big Pimpin' by Jay-Z. "Girls, Girls, Girls" by Jay-Z.
Man, you probably got some sex offensive cases. You probably got some cases right now pending.
I know a chick from Peru that sniffed Peru. I was like, yo, that was my favorite part of the song with Jay.
Oh my
I
god,
got girl across the globe.
man,
Girls.
you out of
I know my
control.
homegirls
Ain't
be saying
no.
I got issues because
Yeah,
they know
you
how
and
like
Joe Budden. I see y'all. Y'all gonna be pulling on a chick at the damn strip club. She's mine.
No. I don't do that. I don't like the most chill, nonchalant dude in the club.
I don't do strip clubs. I don't deserve my money. I
don't do strip clubs either. I don't get the concept of strip clubs.
I don't like prude women. I don't like prudes.
I don't even like throwing money on these women. Like
you don't.
don't deserve my money.
Sometimes I'll just go and just eat wings and steak and all them type of stuff.
Is it true they got the best wings?
But a lot of these girls you see on IG that be popping, you see them like I'm familiar with some of them. Like some of them actually grew up in my neighborhood, so that's why I'm like. When I see these girls, I seen like two girls I know, like in the blogs. I seen one girl that claimed she was with Wiz Khalifa. I was like, I used to work with this girl, like at a shoe store, like you know that resell shoes for like more than what they were. Like I worked at one store, and then the girl who tried to sue 2 Chainz, I knew her, so it's like crazy. Yeah, and I knew she was trying to set it up. And I remember when she said she was gonna run up on. I remember when she said she was gonna approach Charlemagne. When CIW happened, I was never thinking that. And Charlemagne was like, "Man, if you don't get out of my face."
Yeah, he's not interested in women.
She said she was gonna approach Charlemagne for clowning her on gave her donkey of the day.
Oh.
He gave her donkey of the day.
Oh, I thought she was trying to holler at her.
Yeah, and then 2 years later, 2 Chainz went on Nori, and Nori brung it up like, yeah, I heard she tried to sue you again. Yeah, bitch tried to sue me.
Hey, Nori scary as hell, boy. He didn't do nothing. I think Prodigy got jumped. He didn't do shit. I seen on the Patreon. I was like, boy, what's it?
That's what I said.
Pushing now, because Nori was a shooter. He is a shooter. He's a shooter.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say Nori's a shooter. Nori's the type that'll point you out and tell the person that he with to shoot you. That's Nori.
Yeah, I'm
Nori is a shooter.
I mean, hey,
very dangerous cat.
I wouldn't doubt that either. I wouldn't doubt it. I wouldn't doubt it. He's a shiesty dude. So I would.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. He's very dangerous. Like he will play both sides.
Yeah, exactly. That's what got him jammed up. Because for doing that, that's why New York wasn't dealing with him. He had to reinvent himself. He had to deal. He was like 400 pounds, dog. He was depressed.
That was nuts. That's when reggaeton. He pretty much broke reggaeton. Him and Daddy Yankee and all them. Like,
yeah. He went to Miami and was.
Console record was like a big record.
And he was like 400 pounds in New York because he got blackballed. That whole thing with Foxy Brown and they basically got caught up in that. And that wasn't with them, with Junior Mafia and Gutter. Gunna, it was going down.
Yeah, he did get big. Like, I think it was that one video song he had, I'm a G, with Pharrell produced it. And I was like, damn, Nori got big as shit.
Yeah, Nori was like 400 pounds, dog. For real. He was 400 pounds, and, they basically blacklisted him from all the clubs. He couldn't really get his songs played. He couldn't go back to Hot 97. He couldn't go nowhere. And at that time,
Yeah,
he was
because
a hot
that's when he ran up
artist.
in there.
You know what I'm saying? He was hot artist as a solo artist. And I felt bad for him because, you know, I was like, man, I rooted for him because he came back and got in the game. He found his lane. He didn't come back hating on nobody. He came back and did it the way you supposed to do it.
Nori had 2 fire records, and I didn't even talk about the reggaeton. There was like the song Rotate with Ron Browns. I was like, yo, that song was fire. It's time to rotate the super.
That shit, hey, see, no, I didn't know Cuban Links ran down on Fat Joe in Miami. I seen on the paper, I read that. I was like, oh shit.
Yeah.
See, though, you did a truth behind him for that, like a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I liked when Cuban Links was chasing what's his name?
Pitbull.
Yeah, when he was they was no, he knocked Pitbull out. They, yeah, he knocked Pitbull out and that's what messed up his career. But no, that's when he was Khaled, chasing Khaled around that car at the radio station. Khaled was talking tough on the radio station, man. Cuban Links called him when he was leaving there. He was in the parking lot and Khaled was going around the car.
Was he big at the time?
Yeah, he was, but he could move. He was big, but moving, baby. He was getting around that car, man. Cuban Links is like, man, stay still. Yo, man, that was Joe, man. Joe idea, man. It wasn't me. He going running around the car.
Yo, I'm trying to tell people about it.
Man, Links is finished.
People just have a bad memory. Like
Khaled was moving fast around the cars.
Pun's son is nice.